Alright, our first step on this 4th grade Google Earth field trip is going to start out pretty general. The first activity, the first day that I have planned, the kids are exploring ways to determine location, so things like latitude, longitude, hemispheres, things like that, specific versus relative location, things like that. So we're going to start by just looking at the United States. Right here. And for this one, I would go into view right here, and then I want it to show the grid. So this gives me the latitude and longitude so the kids can actually see them. You can also see right down here, there's it shows the equator. If we can zoom out a little bit. Tropic of Cancer, and other things around here, so we could explore each of those individually as we talked with the kids. For this activity, I would start more concrete using an actual globe and just identify latitude, which goes horizontally like a ladder, and longitude, which are vertical, and pointing those out on a physical globe that I could hold up in front of the kids or pass around in groups. We talk about that the most important latitude and longitude are at 0 degrees, and those are the equator for latitude and the prime meridian for longitude. Going from there, we could talk about hemispheres, and if we come in here again, I have a link to an article that we could go to. Looks like I opened it a couple times. We just need one of those. So here we go. It's just talking about hemispheres. It gives the literal definition of a hemisphere. And then it tells exactly how it's split for the students. I designed my lesson for a computer classroom, so each of them would have their own computer and be able to access this individually so that they could all look at it at the same time. So the example that I would use using the globe would be finding Salt Lake City, and so we would say that it's on the Earth. It's in the northern and western hemispheres. It's in the United States, in Utah, and then more specifically 40 degrees north and 111 degrees west. And I had marked that one too in Google Earth, so then we could zoom in and see the latitude and longitude in real life, how it looks. So you can see it right there. And then just give that a chance to load for the kids. Again, since this is for a classroom with a computer lab, the kids would then be able to, for their learning activity, choose a location and then describe it going through all those steps. So again, first on the Earth, and then the hemisphere that it's on, and then the country, then the city, and then the very, very specific latitude and longitude of that place. And our second activity in Google Earth has to do with the regions of Utah specifically. Most of the 4th grade Common Course focuses specifically on Utah geography and thinks about Utah. So for this one, I'm going to take off the grid. It's kind of distracting at this point. You can see I have really simple layers, just pictures on there, and so it's not overwhelming to the students. We're not going to use a whole lot because we're going over kind of broad definitions right now. So we're going to talk about the regions of Utah. You can see I overlaid a map right here that shows the different regions. There's Basin and Range, Rocky Mountain, Colorado Plateau, and then Basin Range and Colorado Plateau transition, where it goes in between either. So we just talk about each of those and definitions, how they were formed, and just a little bit about each. So we'll go through that. So the first one is Basin and Range, and that's created when the Earth is being pulled apart. I have a diagram of a mountain with an arrow pointing up and then a flat part pointing into the mountain that I would draw on the whiteboard for him. For this one, we have a picture from Kings Peak in Utah. It's a really great example of a basin, and it's just right here. Again, this is why I left the picture later on so that we could pull this up really fast for my students. So you can see right here there are Rocky Mountains right along that, and then right here is the basin, so it's the flat part in between the mountains, surrounded by mountains. So there we have that, which provides a perfect transition into the Rocky Mountains, which is the second region we're going to explore. And you can see, just looking around, we can pull this around, you can see the different ranges here. We can also see Mount Powell. I lift up some of these so that we could identify them. But they can see how extensive the mountains are, how far they go. And we could also talk about elevation at this point. I didn't have that planned specifically, but if my students were ready, you could definitely throw that in. After the Rocky Mountains, we have the Colorado Plateau, so I'm just going to sneak on out here. And again, I have a place marker for that one so that we can get to it easily. So we'll just zoom in right here. You can see there are quite a few images associated with that, but that's right in here. It also extends into Arizona, as we'll see in here. So this shows the location of the Colorado Plateau. It's interesting, it's called the Colorado Plateau, but probably the least amount is in Colorado. The rest of it's in Utah and Arizona, a little bit in New Mexico. Plateau is a little bit hard to describe, so I found an article that the students could look at. Instead of me describing it, we could go to this resource. So not only would they learn what a plateau is, but also how to access that information. Merriam-Webster Dictionary Online just tells us what a plateau is, and we could talk about that. Going back to Google Earth here now. We'll pull it up again. And you'll see that I have a picture of a plateau here, so we could talk about just right along the top there. And it's attached to the land over here, which is a characteristic of a plateau. Also right here, this is a great example of a plateau that's sticking out right there. Not specific to the Colorado Plateau, but just another example of what a plateau really is. For this activity, I would also use a little PowerPoint slide that I have right here that has the different landforms. Oh, just kidding. For this one, I was going to have them do an edible mapping activity. So we would use a peanut butter Karo syrup dough, and they would create their map of Utah just like this, forming the plateaus and the basins and the mountains. We could use chocolate chips for the mountains if we wanted to, but just showing the different regions of Utah. And then they'd be able to eat it afterwards, so that would be a really fun activity to enforce to them exactly what a plateau is, where the mountains are in Utah, things like that, just basic geography for them.